Please welcome back to the stage, Isiah Medina. I think you caught our projectionist off without the credits. Just off guard.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Let's go back to something you said at the beginning about philosophy. And obviously, books are very prevalent in the film. Quotations, citations, philosophical discussions. But let's talk about philosophy and form in the cinema.
Philosophy and form in the cinema? Well, my idea is that when cinema was invented, it wasn't really clear exactly what it was. It wasn't immediately said, okay, this is art, for sure, this is art. We didn't know what it was. So I think that because of that, we shouldn't rush into giving it that determination of art. And instead, I was thinking, perhaps, of course, there has been great artistic breakthroughs within cinema, but it might be because maybe cinema could position itself as philosophy. And I think following Badiou that philosophy only exists with what's outside of it, and those things that are outside of it are politics, science, art, and love. And so instead, for cinema, we could think of cinema as being able to montage, edit together thoughts from love, science, politics, and art. And these topics are very classical, because really it's just, the good, the true, and the beautiful, right? But it's just more, there's a materialist tinge in the fact that I'm literally filming these moments of politics, or my friend working on a math proof, etc. So the philosophical form will come from that type of question, because what I think is that the line I would follow, which would be like Plato, Descartes, Hegel, and Badiou, is that great rational philosophy begins with nothing. We have no presupposition on anything. So I think the cinema begins not with the first image of, say, workers leaving the factory, but begins with the cut. It's the appearing, when the cut appears in a film, nothing appears, right? So I think that should be the starting point for cinema. Cinema, the tie cinema has to what's real is not the fact that it shows something that looks like what we see with our eyes, but it's the fact that it ties up with the cut. And this cut is nothing that we could positively determine. And that's why I connect with philosophy, because as I said, the great philosophers, like with Socrates, oh, all I know is I know nothing. But it's not this modest claim. It's like, no, I know there's this thing that counts as nothing, but if we count it, we'll change the count of everything else. Descartes, same thing. It's like, I think therefore I am is nothing, and with Hegel, that's another thing, but he begins with being a nothing, so it's a good idea.
Does this have anything to do with white?
Oh no, I just like white clothes, I don't know. Should I elaborate on white?
Are there any questions for Isiah? I'm sure there are. Yeah, right here?
Yeah, I don't understand the story at all, so what is it about? Can you tell me the basic storyline of the movie?
Well, the question of story is if we're not going to presuppose anything with philosophy, we shouldn't presuppose anything with what a story is. So maybe I might just be studying what's around me, and we'll slowly build a narrative through that, whether it's a friend giving a monologue or someone else giving a monologue and telling about their lives. So I try to take the actual
Observation?
yeah, sure. But we only observe insofar as we can cut in the end of the day, because we can't simply trust what we see. Our empirical senses have been famously always fooled throughout human history. So, and that's why I feel like a story is like that almost. We tell ourselves stories of what we see in front of us. Maybe these stories are false. So I just think that it's in 2015. Maybe there's a certain type of story we shouldn't have to tell anymore, because maybe it's not a story that actually connects to what is thinkable.
And what would you say about perception and memory in that case?
Well, that's the idea too. When I see something or perceive something, it's just that if we could change the very mode of perception, or if we could find out the conditions of how we're able to perceive it, we should work on these conditions rather than just trusting the empirical sense of things. And when it comes to memory, it's like, it's not so much I don't need to remember, but the idea is that what philosophy is supposed to do is make us remember how to remember. And I think today it's very difficult to remember things flying at you. So what philosophy needs to do is just remember the very form of remembering. And what it does remember, and like great philosophy, is that what you thought was impossible already happened multiple times. And that's why the word end flashes a lot too. Because the question is not, oh, will there be an end of history or end of this, end of that? No, it's the question is that the end has happened multiple times, but we're not unable to remember it. And that's why we're in the situation we are in today. For, there might be a going bad situation. You can't see an end.
But there's a cycle.
Oh, it's not so much as this. It's just that the reason why we think of 8888 is because time is no longer cyclical. Like, it's not just going to keep going, progressing, and loop itself back. It's going to stay suspended, because what's important is the form of the count, not the fact that it's going to loop. And that's why there's so many different loops in the movie. Like, you'll hear someone say something, you hear him say it again. Because looping is a sign of finitude. Infinity is not, a cycle is not infinite. Infinity is when we cut, when we separate from repetition, right? And yeah, so it goes back to that.
There are more hands up. Yes, right here.
I noticed in your film that there's a lot of shots of screens, mobile devices. At many points there were times where we had multiple screens and a lot of electronics used. What were you going for with that in the film?
What's the multiple screens? Oh.
Yes, like phone screens, laptops, TVs.
Oh, to be honest, it's a new fact of empirical existence. I'm not going to be like, you don't even have to really think about the fact that, yeah, I have a phone in my pocket, if I'm going to shoot people's lives, there'll be screens around. So, but then again, back again, it's not about this continual framing. Yeah, we'll have new frames in the world, but if we put two frames together, we could have a cut, and that's what I'm focused on. So we're on a show, yeah, we could have multiple screens, and we think we're seeing more and more, but maybe we're not, because we're not able to make a precise change or precise cut to differentiate screen from screen.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask two? Well, for when you were making 8888, you were dropping like some short films throughout that period of time. And I was just wondering about, like, these shorts contained ideas and shots that are recontextualized in the feature. So I wonder if you could talk a bit about that, about like the process of making these shorts, how that led to, or like what that changed in the feature, and like talk a little bit about recontextualizing like images that I've seen in other films that have popped up again here. And then also the choice of no credits. Can you talk about that?
So I'll do the first one. Basically because I don't write anything to make movies. I just, there's a lot of present books people read, but I won't write because I already have a camera in front of me and I want to work with that. And that might mean constructing little sentences in the short films to try to realize how a sentence can even work at the level of cinema. So it's this sort of question of experimenting with grammar so I can speak longer in a paragraph maybe, or maybe I shouldn't call it paragraph at that point. But that's basically why I like to work with shorts. Because what I always liked, I loved how Griffith would have just like hundreds of shorts, and today everyone's so worried about, oh, if I make this short and that short, will people see it? No, just keep going and try to find a different way to approach cinema. And I think that's why I like to work with a lot of short work, so I could, in a sense, learn new words, in a sense, before I do this. And when it comes to the credits stuff, it's just like, why? I don't know. No, I just don't know why you would need credits, in a sense. Like, no, at least in this one, every time you see letters, it's never like transcendently just put on top of it. And the only time I ever see letters on screen where it's not singly from reality is some other short I did. So it's trying to just keep referencing what actually appears in front of you, if only to be able to cut it after. But I just don't I don't see that, So I want to be, at least, if I'm going to cut away from something, it has to be something. I can't just I want to put credits because it's just not in my life. I don't have credits in my life, so why? And it also just like I don't want you to be taken out of it, because the idea is that when I walk in my normal existence, I see things around me. Okay, sure, but the idea is that while I'm watching these type of cuts and these type of framings, I'll just continue doing that when I walk out because I'm thinking about it in my head, and then the credits kind of get in the way of that.
Right over here.
So on a sort of pragmatic level, what were some of the structures or devices that helped you make decisions on when to be edited? What kind of guided you through that process?
Through the editing?
Editing process.
Oh, so the editing.
And the layering.
Oh, and the layering. Yeah, so basically when it comes to editing, like I would shoot, but not all the time, only when I think we could shoot something when I feel on set. And like I was talking about before, about like finite numbers and infinite. So when I edit, I just try to find a sort of rhythm where at one point I could tell it's becoming a rhythm. And at that point you either repeat it again or you cut it, so you can make it actually a finite thing. So when I think of editing, I always think of, I try to make some sort of passage through usually like set theory or mathematics, but it doesn't mean like I'm just writing an actual formula. I just keep it there to inspire me with its rigor. So when I do cut, it's related to this in some way. But it could also be another question. Like I said, it's not only mathematics, it's like 3 other conditions. So, you know, if, for instance, Anne is in the movie, and she's my girlfriend, and you see, you know, one one's like trees, and it's like flickering like that. So that shot's reserved for her because, like, I love her. So of course, no one else gets that shot. So these type of questions, love is a condition of thinking, you know, and I'm very serious about that. So of course, I reserve that form of thinking for her, right? And so these are the type of questions that would pop up for how it would show something. And like, if it's like rap and stuff, and that's a form of art, and that would condition its sort of passage editing when someone's freestyling. So it depends on each scene, point by point, right? And I'll see what's in the cut that's possibly related to love, to politics, to science, or art, and then I just think it through step by step.
How do you know when you're done?
Oh, it's a pure decision. You'll never know. If you actually think you'll find out, you won't find out because you'll just keep going. Pure repetition, right? So the only way you ever know you're at the end is when you cut, and you just make a resolute decision that you're done. But it's the same thing with beginning, you know, because you could, I can't begin yet, I can't do this yet. No, at one point just say, okay, I'm making a stance here, we're beginning now, and then you begin.
We only have time for one more question. There's so many hands up. Yes, right here in the middle.
Hi.
So the clip of the bug on the book really stuck with me throughout the whole film, and I just want to know your thought process behind that.
Oh, it's pure contingency. I can't ask a bug to come, but once it's there. But once it's there, of course, yeah, it's in the film, and I kept that one and not the shot with it without, because it flies away. And the idea is that, you know, those shots when the ground is constantly changing. It shows like, I don't know, rainy ground, non-rainy ground, and then like these chain grounds with the shadow, and just cuts between the different grounds because there's no. That's it. Back to that thing. We don't know what ground we're standing on. Do you really think the bug knows it's standing on a page of like some commentary in Badiou? You know, so no, but like really.
But what if it did?
And what if it does? And what if it's right? And that's the idea, because it's not only just to always doubt everything, but let's be honest. Sometimes you're right. You're absolutely right about what you're thinking, and you should be prepared to walk because the ground is correct.
Okay, I'm gonna allow one more question. Yes, in the back row.
So, this is an honest question. I want to know how you made it to TIFF, like what your screening process for other films that were competing.
How did it make it to TIFF?
Yeah.
I saw the website. It said, bring a film to the lightbox. So I made a DVD, and then I put it to the lightbox.
And then I saw it, and I liked it, and it's here.
Oh shit!
Also, just one more thing too. My brother's here and he was in the movie. He stands in front of the sun. And the girl I love, she's over here too. So I just want to let people know they're here too.